So I'm late to this party. It's a really fun party. It's one that people have been dancing to the rhythm by the campfire for a little while. But I'm late. I'm late to it. But I'm glad that I finally made it here now because Real Kakamura is something that's been popping up over and over on my feed, particularly on Instagram. I think for a while. We followed each other. We flirted a little bit. It was cute. And I never really actually went down the rabbit hole of figuring out what Real Kakamura was, what it meant, right? And so I thought I'd take a break of giving just horrifically bad takes about everything to break down what Real Kakamura is and why they're awesome. And if you have no idea who they are, welcome to your Internet Education 101. Grab your little pen and paper and get ready to start writing. So here is a wonderful clip, and I'm basically going to show this because one of my favorite players is scoring the goal in this clip, Rafa Leai, the Solomonesi, the Solomon Islands wonder kid that a bunch of big clubs at one point were trying to sign, who scored 91 goals in 44 matches for the incredibly well-named Henderson Eels. This is him scoring a winning goal against a club called Real Kakamura. Here goes Rafael Leai. He's got the pace. He's got the dribbling skill. Well, that's not Leai, though. Jabated. That's Leai coming in, finishing it off. Very talented team, Henderson Eels. Maybe they got a bunch of wonder kids over there. But Real Kakamura losing 19-0. This was the final match of the season, and they were definitively the worst team in the Solomon Islands League, a former amateur team that, and I'm reading this from their Wikipedia, so take this with a grain of salt here. Former amateur team that were added to the Telecom S League, which is the Solomon Islands League, in place of Makuru FC, who refused to play in the league on religious grounds. I have no idea what that could possibly mean. They just decided they weren't going to play in the league. The only link on the article is some link to box scores from the league in 2011, so it doesn't really give any details about them not, playing in the league on religious grounds. But that's what launched this club, Real Kakamura, from an amateur team in the Solomon Islands into the actual league. But we are clearly far, far away from this club going viral. Now, there is something important to know about the Solomon Islands, even though it sounds like it's very out of the way, and you've never seen a footballer from there, and you've never thought about them in, a footballing sense at all. It is not just another tiny Pacific island here. The Solomon Islands has more than twice the people on it than Iceland, right? This is a country that has a significant amount of land, a significant amount of people, and, we're not talking about Tuvalu, okay? We're talking about, I don't want to say an actual country to disregard other countries that have, 30, 40,000 people and are able to function very well. But this is a country with a significant amount of people in it, an amount of people that, could get you to a World Cup. If Iceland can go to a World Cup, then why not the Solomon Islands, right? And Real Kakamura plays in the top league in this country, and they were all right for a little while, but in the pandemic and kind of after the pandemic, they were very, very bad. And they ended up playing a truly spectacular 2023 season where they finished 0-22, conceding an average of 5.27 goals per match with a goal difference of minus 102 in only 22 matches. And of course, the final match of that season, I think, was this match, but I'm not really completely sure. They had multiple terrible years that match could have been a part of. It wasn't, though, because their season that particular year ended with a 14-0 loss to the Solomon Warriors, with Tigi Moliais tallying 10 goals in that match to clinch the league title for the Warriors, which is the second highest total in league history. Which, question, who has scored more than 10 goals in a match? Remember when Erling Haaland scored 9 against Honduras and hell froze over? Somebody scored more than 10 goals in a match in the Solomon Islands League. And it wasn't Rafael Leai, because if it was, I would definitely know that piece of trivia. So there's somebody, must be way back in the annals of history. But during this time where they were getting blown out, the reason Real Kakamura has gone, the reason I'm talking about him right now is they went viral. Whoever runs the account for Real Kakamura is a very good social media content creator. And basically what the club became was a content creator. There's almost this difference. There's the actual club, right, which the account is associated with, and it does cover their matches, right? But if you go to the Instagram that they have and their posts, they will post like, this is the this is our last match of the season, was certainly one to forget, like that's funny. And they post this time here, this is actually about the Henderson Eels match right here. So it'd be 5 years ago today, Real Kakamura conceded 19 to Henderson Eels on the final match day of the 2019-2020 season. Leai scored a league record 11. He did score 11. Oh my God, that means they've given up 10 goals to one person and 11 goals to one person. Rafael Leai scored 11 goals in a match, and I didn't know that until just now. Wow. That's tough. I thought we were close. But in the post, we were later investigated again for rumors of match fixing and having potentially played 10 unregistered players. It remains the largest defeat in the history of this football club and the league. Ow. They cover it, though, with, they're actually covering the club, but they're covering it with really interesting content. And it is not just the posts, which are obviously funny. Like the posts are very clearly funny. There are the reels. And we're going to escalate here. We start with like a very solid, funny Instagram reel about how Real Kakamura is better than Real Madrid. So we're just going transitive property. That is, I don't know how a team from Mexico ended up playing a team from Oceania, but that's how we've managed to get to the Solomon Islands. And eventually we are going to get to Real Kakamura, and we did. So that, quality content that goes viral. People become interested in it. And then you have stuff like this. Drake, after calling Kendrick short just to get demolished harder than Real Kakamura on August 25th, 2023. I don't think this scoreline is actually real. This would definitely rewrite the record books in terms of the worst loss in league history. But this is just, objectively good content. And they go even farther with it. They go even farther. The age of consent in the Solomon Islands is 15. Is Benzema considering a move to Real Kakamura? Like, completely out of pocket shit. That's very funny, obviously. But they are willing to go very far, almost into, like, it is basically a shit posting club, which I love. I respect the hell out of that. Most club accounts are very serious, right? They don't, and even when they have those sorts of interactions with other clubs or whatever, they're very canned. This is the complete opposite. Right, this is a club account for the worst team in the Solomon Islands League that has just started to gain a really significant following. There was a while I post those reels on Instagram about various stories I talk about on Zealandism, and there was a while that people would be like, "Why don't you talk about Real Kakamura? Why don't you talk about Real Kakamura?" And I knew at some point I was going to sit down and read the Wikipedia and get into the lore. And you know what the best part of the lore is? All of these funny posts, right? All of these funny reels. And they do very good, they do great views. Some of it's just like when you're just a chill ref, so you start snorting an ounce to insult Jurgen Klopp. And we have to blur that out because I think I might get YouTube smacked by that, right? Like very edgy football meme content that sometimes doesn't even have anything to do with Real Kakamura or is promoting various Real Kakamura players. This is somebody blazing a new trail that's very good, and it's having results on the pitch. Honestly, in 2024, Real Kakamura got their first victory in 2 years. In the next match, they beat Kosa FC, starting a 2-match win streak for their first time since 2021. In fact, they would go on to finish third in the entire league, but there's been more and more drama about this. 21 weeks ago, the account came out with a statement talking about how they believe that they've been shadow banned and that there's the content's become too edgy, and that's why you get a warning basically when you follow the club and that the growth of their account has collapsed. But it's clear you've got people going into r/out of the loop on Reddit, which is a Reddit where you can go and ask about things that you're hearing about, but you don't really know what's going on. And people that are in the know can give you an answer asking about the Real Kakamura situation because they've gotten so much traction and so many people know about them. They got 22,000 plus likes on this club statement about them potentially being shadow banned, being blocked by people like Fabrizio Romano. But the truth is, this club is just taking a wild pot shot on being viral on the internet and just shit posting. And they managed to go from the worst team in the league to finishing third and legitimately being a good competitive team in the Solomon Islands League. That remember when they lost 19-0 to Henderson Eels? They finished 9 points ahead of them in the Solomon Islands League this year. So whether they are shadow banned or not, and whether what they're doing is like good for the game or not, which I don't give a shit. I think it's interesting. I like the fact that, like I was saying earlier, that, you know, a club is just posting random stuff and kind of making fun of itself, but not in a way where you're, you know, being derogatory towards your players or coaches, but just saying, you know, like, ha, we used to get made fun of for people thinking we were match fixing because we were so bad. Like, that sort of thing is very funny. It's a whole other argument now that you see that it's working. That increased interest, that increased following. Clearly, they're very popular in the Solomon Islands, I would imagine, or at least have a lot of interest, you know, a bit of a lightning rod perhaps for controversy, but that sort of interest in, you know, everybody knowing who you are, but not caring at all about Honey Ira City, right? That just creates a gravity where more and more players are going to come and want to play for you, and Real Kakamora's in freaking third place. Maybe they can go on and win the league. When they started doing all this stuff, they literally lost every game. So good for them, honestly. Final takeaway on it is good for them. Be cool to go watch a Real Kakamura match sometime, obviously, but it's almost hard to parse the story from the memes when you really start to deep it.